So starting the test drive in this Cybertruck here, very, very weird. That's probably the best way to describe it. I mean, this thing drives like nothing I've ever driven before. It feels like nothing I've ever driven before, and I've owned a Tesla before. Even with this feeling like a Tesla, again, it feels like nothing else that I've been behind the wheel of, and I've been behind the wheel of just hundreds of cars, maybe even 1,000 or so. So this is just, it's wild. Now, one thing I will say is the visibility kind of throws me for a loop, because it feels like the truck's wider than it is, mostly because you can basically see from pillar to pillar. Not a lot of, room for gaps, whatever, in terms of the windshield, because the windshield does help with the visibility, but then again, just with this A-pillar here, with how weird it is, it also just it doesn't feel right. Like, there's a tiny window down here on either side, and I'm just like, okay, but I kind of like it. Now, this thing does turn heads. I've been driving it for about a mile, and just driving around the parking lot, people are turning their heads. Just it looks so crazy. It really does. So you can take that for what it is, whether you think that's good or bad. Now, the way the steering wheel feels is probably the craziest thing, because you can't even turn this thing all the way in one direction. Even with the four-wheel steering, it's very maneuverable, but it's also, the wheel does not do a lot of work. So I could turn it one way and it'll probably stop halfway between trying to turn it all the way. And that's one of the strangest things about this, other than the four-wheel steering. But I've driven a few of the Hummer EVs, so I've kind of gotten used to that. But this here is just something that's totally different, because I feel like this feels shorter in terms of height, but longer in terms of the overall length of the vehicle, as opposed to the Hummer EV. Now, this truck in particular was rated to get 305 miles on a charge, just according to the screen here. I don't know the actual EPA estimates and all of that, but I mean, that's still pretty good, I think, for something of this nature. I would just expect a little bit more from Tesla. Now, after the Foundation series, or maybe if you get the one that has the 3 motors or whatever, you'll get a bit more. But again, I haven't really studied the Cybertruck that much since they basically changed everything that they were going to be doing. Because I had a reservation about, 3-4 years ago when it first came out, and then I just canceled it because I didn't see it happening anytime soon. It might have been longer than that, now that I think about it, because I think I still have my other Tesla. But anyways, it's still an impressive range for something like this that's as capable as it is. And it's not even necessarily the full version, with the most power and all that. So we'll just see what the future holds for Tesla. And it may have something to do with having the single motor set up that'll get you the best range or something like that. But as of now, still pretty good in my opinion. Now, with the turning radius, it does make this thing feel much more agile than you would expect. And it is very quick. So we'll definitely give it a pull here in a moment. I guess we'll test out the autopilot first. So it's keeping that safe distance between myself and the vehicle in front of me. It's kind of hard to really test out the full system here. We'll give it a pull real quick. Yeah, this thing's quick. It's real quick. very impressed. And again, just with me not knowing this car in terms of the cruise control, just how to use the autopilot to its full capability, I'm really only using the adaptive cruise now because I'm used to having the stalk here, and I can hit the stalk, and then that's how you get it to go into autopilot and all that. But I can't even read this freaking steering wheel. I have no idea what's going on, but you know what? That's okay. But very, very good performing truck, as we would expect with it being an electric truck and it being a Tesla. Now, like with most EVs, these are pretty high compared to what they sticker for, just because there aren't a lot out yet. It's hard to make them. It's the first of its kind, so everybody wants to kind of have it while it's still cool. But from a practicality standpoint, if this holds up like other Teslas should, or like other Teslas do, going 400, maybe even 500,000 to 1 million miles, getting that out of a pickup truck is almost like getting an electric Tundra, like, you know, the older ones, where people were putting 1 million miles on them. They had to change out the timing chains and all that. But with these, you don't even have to do that much. The biggest thing is the battery. And again, we've seen some Teslas go crazy amounts of miles on the original batteries. Certainly the motors will hold up as they should. But I mean, right now it's just nice to have something that's this cool to look at, this much fun to drive, and this capable. Now, one other thing I want to touch on is the ride on this. This rides a lot better than I was expecting. It doesn't ride rough. It still kind of has that bouncy feel, just with the center of gravity and all of that. What you would expect from EVs, in particular Teslas, they tend to be a bit bouncy. But ride is still very comfortable. I love that we get the heated and cooled seats here, because especially with this vegan leather, and then having all the ways that the light can get through here, whether it's through the glass roof, the windshield, or the side windows, you don't want it to be too hot in here, and I'm just glad we're able to cool the seats. But I mean, overall, I think a very, again, practical pickup truck that doesn't necessarily look practical. It looks out of this world, it looks exotic, and just having something that can give you the best of both worlds it's just nice. It's really nice. Now, a lot of people are trying to flip these now, which is kind of a problem, but I feel like if you actually want to keep this, if you didn't pay too much for it to begin with, a really good way to have something that will turn heads for years to come, because there's nothing close to looking like freaking Iron Man other than this Cybertruck. But I mean, it's just a really, really fun, cool pickup that can still get what you need done if you're coming out of, let's say, maybe a Silverado or a Sierra, especially if you're coming out of a small truck like a Colorado or a Ford Ranger or something like that. But it does take some getting used to, especially if you're not used to driving EVs, especially if you're not used to being behind the wheel of a Tesla. This is gonna feel wild to you, I guarantee it, because it felt wild to me, and I've been in all of them. But after driving this thing around, a lot less cumbersome than I was expecting. It feels good driving it. It's still a big boy, and it shows that off just when you look through the side mirrors, when you look out the windshield, you're just like, man, this truck is massive. But it doesn't drive that way, which is a big plus for people that are maybe coming from a Model 3 or a Model S, even a Model X, and they just want to have a Cybertruck. Not going to be a huge deal for you. Just get used to backing in your pickup, because these are a lot harder to pull into a parking spot. So I want to give one more thank you to Auto Collection of Murfreesboro and Auto Pro of Nashville for allowing me to review this Cybertruck today. And then if you're looking to find the best deal on one of these in your area, click on that link down below, fill out the info. It takes a minute or two. But this thing is just, it's an awesome truck. That's all I can say. And this will bring me to the end of my review of this 2024 Tesla Cybertruck Foundation Series.